Welcome to the first annual Sophomore Parent Information Night. I'm Judy Turner. I'm one of the 5 assistant principals at the high school. I'm the assistant principal in Home Office A32, and I'm also lucky enough to be the administrator in charge of the incoming sophomores, the class of 2016. I'm very excited to be here tonight. With me is Mrs. Pfeiffer and Mr. Fluck, who are the class advisors. They're 2 teachers here that are also equally excited to be involved with the class of 2016. We also have some students with us tonight. The reason we're having this event this evening is if your children are anything like my sons, when they were in high school and they would come home and I would say, what's new, what happened in school today, what do I need to know? Nothing, same old thing. What? What did you say? So I never got any information. And I taught in the school where they went. And I still was in the dark sometimes. So we know that you don't always get the information. So what we wanted to do tonight was talk about some helpful hints that now that the sophomore year has started and your student is here, that might help you out. So we have some students with us tonight, and they're going to give you some hints. We're going to go over some important dates, and we're going to give you some tips from the advisors and from administration. Our plan tonight is to present the information to you for about a half an hour, a little bit more than that, and then have some time for you to ask questions. And we'll be done at 8 o'clock because I know it was hard to get out on a night like tonight, and we really appreciate you coming here and value your time. The students that we have here tonight are seniors. They're from the class of 2014, and they're members of the class cabinet, which means they're part of student government. They came to me with some ideas that they said, these are things that we wish we would have known or our parents would have known when we were sophomores. So most of these ideas come from the kids, and they're going to fill you in on what they think you should know about sophomore year at North Penn High School. So we're going to start with getting around this big school.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Hina Marasia, and I am a member of the senior class cabinet. And one of the first things is what goes in your book bag. And that's because if you have children who are in like senior year or junior year, they refer to a sophomore backpack. That is when your backpack is really, really, really big, and it makes your shoulders hurt, your back hurt, and then you complain all the time. And the reason is all teachers are like, we need 3-ring binders in each of our classes. But you don't need that. You can use folders, but keep a 3-ring binder at home where if like you're finished with one unit, you put your stuff in there and then you start with the new unit in your folder so your back never hurts. Another thing is the dress code. We do follow the dress code here. Almost all the students follow it. And if the students who don't follow it, they look a little silly because they would be the ones who have their midriff showing. They're the ones who will be wearing their pants too low, and most people don't really like that, and teachers don't find it comfortable either. And lastly is there's a lot of students who will, as sophomores, they don't understand that you can't crowd around a hallway because there's 1,000 other kids trying to pass through it. You also hear, as the years go on, like by the time they're seniors, they refer to it as a E-pod clog, which is the main hallway that gets used the most, and that's where students will try, especially sophomores, they'll stand and try to socialize, but you can't because then it's hard to get through the hallways. And next I'll give it to Nikita for the pool.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikita Patel, and as you know, I'm from the senior class cabinet. All of the sophomores this year are required to take swimming no matter what. If they do not take swimming, they do not graduate. So that is a major thing for sophomores this year. Anyone who comes into the district has to take swimming in order to pass. That's one of the requirements of graduation. A main thing for swimming is just having a plan. They always have to have their swimsuit with them, and if they prefer, they can have goggles or swim cap if they want to. They've already started like swimming in the pool by now, so they probably already have them. A nice thing to do though is to have a backup suit for them, especially if they're forgetful and they forget what letter day it is and they realize, oh my gosh, it's swimming and I forgot my swim bag. So as long as they have like a backup in their hallway locker, they won't get in trouble or get a 0 for the day. So I think it's a really good important thing to make sure that they have a backup. Another thing is to always lock up your valuables. A lot of kids have iPhones, smartphones, and we have a lot of problems with like technology getting like taken away, and the kids are saying, it's not my fault, but it kind of is because they didn't lock it up. So a suggestion for you parents is to like get a lock for them if they want to put on their swim locker, but as long as they can't automatically have it on the locker, they have to take it with them to and from that, or they can give it to the actual swim teachers to put it in like their room so that way it doesn't get stolen. It's just a major thing, like a lot of that happens and it's kind of a bad thing to happen. So that's just one of the important things when it comes to swimming. Next, I am going to give it to Lorna Jenko for 9th period and next period.
Okay. We are going to improvise. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Hi, I'm Lauren Jacob. So I'm going to talk about academics, which I'm sure that's what you guys care about. There's lots of fun things to do at North Penn, but sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, especially because sophomore year, like it's your first year at the high school, and there's a lot of, like the teachers are a little bit harder than at middle school. And so this is like, if your child needs help, these are places that they can go. So we have 9th period, which we have every Wednesday and Thursday, and that's during school. So they can meet with their teachers, or they can just use it as a study hall. There's also X period on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and that is after school, but it's really helpful. I remember I stayed after all the time sophomore year for either clubs or to talk to my teachers on like maybe a test that I had. They would stay after and help you study. So that's really nice. And there's a late bus at 4 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So it's really nice. And then there's also ADAPT, which is peer tutoring. That is in room C117. And then we also have the writing lab, which is in E139 this year. And it's really helpful. The English teachers stay after, and they'll help you go over your essays, and especially when you get to senior year, it's really nice for college essays. There we go. Okay. More academics. Sophomore year, you have the critical paper and the research paper. So the critical paper you write in your English class. I believe that sophomore year, it's between 5 and 7 pages. So it is probably the longest paper that your child will write, like, or have written up to this point. Like I said, the writing lab is really, really helpful for critical papers. It's a really good source to use because it is kind of overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, I have to write 5 to 7 pages on like a book, but it's really not that bad. And then the research paper is through your history class, but if they take AP, they actually don't have to write one, which is nice. So there's that. And then, like it says up there, don't procrastinate because you will, or your child will be stressed out. Trust me, I procrastinated. Don't do it. Okay. And then final exam exemptions. Sophomore year, your student gets 1 exam exemption. And then junior year is 2, and then senior year 4. But if your child is taking an AP class, then that does not count with the exemption. So they can actually exempt 2. Explain what an exemption, how you get an exemption. Oh, an exemption, sorry. They have to get an A every marking period for that subject, and then they can exempt. Oh. For your AP, if they're taking an AP, then they need to get a B average for the year and be taking the AP test, and then they can exempt it. But otherwise, you still have to take it. And I believe that's it. And so we have Priam on clubs.
Hi everyone, I'm Priyam Sarkar. As you all know, North Penn's huge, and to make it smaller, your child should join clubs. We have over 100 clubs here, so to make North Penn smaller, it'd be a fun way. And just make sure that they don't join too many clubs, because that's very stressful, as Laura's been one of them. She was over in like 10 clubs, and don't do it, yeah. I suggest at least 3 or 4 at the most that you can go to it a lot and spend your time there. And it's good for college in the future, for college apps and everything. So next we have Ricky.
Hi everyone, I'm Ricky Hombach, and I am talking about some events we have at North Penn. And there are many throughout the year, some that sophomores can come to, some that you can come to as juniors and seniors, and it's never too early to plan ahead. So first we have Powder Puff, which is a tradition here at North Penn. That is where the girls play football and the guys cheerlead. And each class has a team. So you have a sophomore team, junior team, and a senior team. And that'll be held on November 4th. It's a Monday night. And there are 2 practices, the 19th and the 26th. So unfortunately, signups have already occurred. So if you want to sign up, it's a little late now. But if you have signed up, don't forget about those practices.
Tell them about the sophomore class signups. Do you know about that?
No.
Who has the most signups out of all the classes?
Apparently the sophomores have the most signed up. But the seniors are second in front of the juniors, so that's more important, right? Okay, so right before Powder Puff, though, we have Homecoming, which is next week. And the whole week, there's a Spirit Week. So every day, there's a different Spirit Day. And then the Friday there's many events. There's a pep rally, which the seniors will go to. But the juniors and the sophomores will watch on the North Penn television in their 9th periods. Later that day, the SGA, the student government, is holding a pregame party. So throughout this week, you can pay $20 for a ticket to the game, a t-shirt, and a dinner and a party here in the courtyard at North Penn. I've gone for 2 years and it's a lot of fun. Great way to hang out with your friends and support North Penn. So that's Homecoming next week. Thanksgiving week, there's a new dance this year held by the class of 2016, held by the sophomores. You can see the data is up there. It's the first time this is happening, so come out and piece of North Penn history. But a more formal dance is the holiday dance, which is actually called Winter Ball, which is held the first Saturday of January. And that isn't open to everyone. You can buy a ticket as a junior, a sophomore, or a senior, and you can attend that night. It's our biggest dance at North Penn. It's a lot of fun. Though the other dance, proms, junior and senior, you can only attend as a sophomore if you're asked as a date. So junior prom will be earlier in April, and senior prom is actually later April this year. Junior prom is held here at North Penn, and senior prom is held at Drexelbrook Country Club. It's a country club, right? Yeah. Finally, the senior trip to Disney. So it's a senior trip, but you can never start fundraising. Start fundraising now. It is an expensive trip. Our trip is $1,034, but if you start sophomore year, there's plenty of fundraisers, and the advisors will talk about that a little bit. Start now. Because if you start too late, you may not raise enough. So you want to start fundraising early, and there are many opportunities. Next thing is School Pride, and one of our favorite slogans is, what time is it? Nighttime, spelled with a K. And there are many, many ways to get involved in School Pride here at North Penn. We have many games, many sports events, football games, basketball games, baseball games. Come out with your friends, support your North Penn teams. We have more state champions than anyone in the state, so we have awesome games to come and watch. We also, behind that wall back there, we have a school store. You can't see it from here, but it's right there, trust me. We have a school store that sells all kinds of North Penn clothing, from sweatshirts to sweatpants to t-shirts, open during most lunches. You can come buy your North Penn gear. I think that's it. the morning they're open as well. And FBLA, the future business leaders, actually run that, so you're buying from students. Even better.
Thank you, Ricky. The advisors are going to talk about how do you pay for all this stuff, because they're going to come to you for money.
Just to introduce myself again, my name is Maria Pfeiffer, and I'm the co-advisor along with John Fluck for the class of 2016. So that means that we'll be with your students from sophomore year till senior year. One thing I'd like to go back on, Ricky talked about Powder Puff, and although he said the signups were closed, we ordered some extra t-shirts, and we are still looking for cheerleaders. So if anyone's sons are interested in getting out there, tell them to stop by their class advisor room K28 to grab a Powder Puff permission form. We don't give up so easily. Okay, so back to how do you pay for all of this? The first thing are fundraisers, and do you want to talk about that, and I'll do the funds?
Sure. Hi, my name is Mr. Fluck, and I will quickly talk about fundraisers. We are trying to think outside the box and do something different. We are sick of like the magazine sales and all that, and we talked to our class cabinet, and they hated them more than we do. There wasn't much profit. They did all this work, and they made a few bucks. So this year, talking with them, we're trying to do some different things. Our first fundraiser, we're doing a rally scarf fundraiser. So if you've watched soccer games, the union games, it's starting to hit some high schools and colleges. They're those scarves that they hold up, and they're nice. I feel better without the microphone, but anyway, sorry. On the front, it says North Penn. On the back, it says U-Knighted with a K. It's got a sword logo on each side. Those ones that we're selling, we're getting 150 in first, and we're hoping to get them next week by homecoming. I've been talking with this guy back and forth, and we should have them next week, so it's first come, first serve. I will put it up on the website, the sophomore website, as soon as I know. So if you see it, go up there, tell your sons or daughters. They'll be selling them here in this cafeteria. They're $20. All the profits go to the class of 2016. After that, when those 150 get sold out, we're doing a second order. The order form is on the website. We have order forms here as well, and they'll be here in time for the holidays. So we think this is going to be a great fundraiser. The sophomores, and we talked to even the upperclassmen, are really excited about this, and we think it's going to make the class a lot of money. If this goes well, and then talking with them, we're going to do individual sales where anything they sell, the profit goes right into their account, okay? Talking with juniors and seniors, they said they wish they knew about fundraising sophomore year so they could have saved up money for the Disney trip. Talking with parents, they'd like that too because they hated senior year when their son or daughter came and said, I need $1,000 in a week so I can go to the Disney trip, and it's ridiculous. And we know it's expensive, but we know with good fundraising, it's really going to drive the price down. We're also going to start payment plans as well, so you can put money into account every single month, kind of chip away at it. If they fundraise, then that's less money they got to pay.
So talking about the accounts, John had talked about a Disney trip account. So that's one of the accounts that we have for students who are fundraising. And we always mention that whichever fundraiser will have ones for a general account, and we'll also have fundraisers that are allocated just to the Disney account. So those would be personal. So if your son or daughter sold $100 worth of, we're going to do wreaths and poinsettias in the winter for the holidays, they'll get, I think it's 40% of the sales goes to their account. So that's $40 right there that goes into their personal account. So I'm kind of like the banker, and I keep control of the general account, and then we also keep track individually of all the students so that their personal amount that they owe for the Disney trip is offset by their fundraising. So that's one of our accounts we have. We also have a general fund, which some of our fundraisers will go towards that. So that's just for class of 2016 for the events that we hold. So that would be for like buying supplies for our Kiss Your Senior Goodbye in the end of the year. Also our dances that we hold will be from the general account as well. And also the general account, we go towards also offsetting prom tickets prices. So that'll be for junior and also for senior year as well.
All right, we're extremely excited to be advisors. This is our first, all three of us, this is our first run at being advisors. It's something that we've wanted for a few years, and we know Mrs. Turner wanted for a few years. The cabinet's great. The sophomores that I yell at in the hallway and talk to seem to be generally excited, at least a little bit, to be up here. And we were really excited that they were the biggest class to sign up for Powder Puff. And there's definitely trash talking going on already, which we which we do encourage and we like, and when we're looking forward to the Powder Puff game. One thing I wanted to say also that we kind of missed on is home access. Check home access all the time. Teachers update at least once a week. If there's a concern, email the teacher. I personally make mistakes once in a while, and it's nice to have, if the student doesn't catch it, a parent catches it before you get to the end of the marking period. So please check home access. If there's any questions, email the teachers. Teachers are more than willing to clarify a grade.
Thank you. So the adults get to talk about the obligations and money things. The kids get to talk about the fun stuff. So you might hear about obligations at North Penn and clearing obligations, and what are they? And what obligations students incur while they're at the high school. And there's two types of obligations. There's financial. So if your student loses a library book or doesn't turn in a book to a teacher, or if they're in sports and they lose their uniform or don't turn it in, those kind of things become financial obligations. The coach or the teacher tells the home office, this child owes this much money for this item. And it gets logged onto a spreadsheet of obligations. So there's financial obligations. Seniors know about parking tickets as financial obligations. Sophomores, not yet. But that can be an obligation. The other type of obligation is if by chance they might break a rule by mistake and they get caught and they get a detention or a Saturday school, they need to serve that. And the way that works at the high school is that discipline report goes to their home office, and then the assistant principal in the home office assigns the detention or the Saturday school. We do not, for detention, say you have to come this day, because as you heard the students talk about, there are so many things that kids are involved in, so many activities, plus jobs, plus obligations that they have outside of school. They're busy kids. So we give them a window of opportunity, 2 to 3 weeks, and say, make sure you serve it within this time. And detentions can be served before or after school, and they can come anytime within those couple weeks. If they don't do that, it becomes an obligation. And it goes on to the list that they owe this many detentions or this many Saturday schools. And the reason that this becomes important is to be able to buy a ticket to Winter Ball or to be able to go even as a guest to a prom, you cannot have any obligations. All obligations have to be cleared to participate in events. So you want to make sure you get them out of the way as soon as possible. So if they think they're going to go away here, and maybe they did at middle school, because I used to work at Penndale and sometimes they did, here they never go away. They will stay with you as an obligation until you graduate, and you don't get your diploma until those obligations are filled. So please encourage your kids. One detention, 45 minutes after school and it's done. So please make sure they fulfill their obligations, because they don't want to miss out on going to something because they lost a library book or something. And what happens is they go to buy a ticket and they find out they're not eligible to buy it, and then they're scurrying around trying to get it done. So that's why obligations are important. Sure. Oh. Absolutely, that happens all the time. The teachers will then notify the home office and they'll say, so-and-so was with me after school, can this count as a detention? They were here for this amount of time. And that happens a lot. We're happy to do that because our focus is learning and academics, and that helps all of our kids. So that does happen. Thank you. So tonight was about giving you some tips and highlights and things that you might know, but as you can see on the list that I handed out, there's not a lot, every activity is not on there. So what's the best way to keep informed? Because we know it's not asking your kids. That's not the best way. Some of them are good, but usually not. So make sure that you, as Mr. Fluck said, make sure you check Home Access Center, because if you want to stay on top of their grades, that's the way to do it. And also, this year, interims are electronic, so we're not sending stuff home because we found that most of them didn't make it home. So it's easier for you to check. The daily bulletin is a great way. If you go to North Penn's webpage and you go to information, the bulletin is there. And I work here, but I check that every morning because it keeps me up to date with what the kids are doing and what's going on in the school, what activities there are. So that's a really good place. I find that probably parents use that more than kids, but that's okay. It keeps you in the know. And on the top of each daily bulletin, that month's calendar is there. So that's also a good resource. If you click on the calendar, it has on each day what event is occurring, what time, what place. That's another good resource to get information. And also, we do have a web page for the class. What we talked about tonight, the PowerPoint, there'll be the handout, that will all be on our class of 2016. That web address is on the handout. And we're also videotaping tonight, so this will be available, a link to this presentation. So we're trying to be as transparent as possible and get as much information as we can out to you. One of the things I need to mention on the handout, on the pink handout, is about PSATs coming up next week. And I want to clarify a couple things because some kids aren't very sure about this, and it's even more confusing to adults because you're not hearing it as much as they are. PSATs are taken for free, all 10th graders. They are taking it on the 16th, a half a day. There is no charge. The school district pays for them to take it so that every student can take it. And this is an important thing for them to try to do their best because it gives them useful information and it gives us useful information. It's practice for them, so if they're taking then the PSATs the following year, the following October is juniors, and for their SATs, it's a way to practice. The other thing that it does is in January, their guidance counselors will go into their class and teach them how to get onto the website for College Board, and their results will be there. And you can break that down and use it to get all kinds of information about career paths and colleges and what to do in the future. So it's really a good tool for any student to kind of plan for what their future's going to hold for them. So it gives you a lot of resources through the College Board. As juniors, you have an option to take the PSAT. But understand that only as a junior is it a qualifying exam for National Merit Scholarship consideration. Not everybody gets that. So if you score very well on the PSAT in your sophomore year, but don't take it as a junior, you do not qualify for National Merit Scholarship consideration. So some of our students didn't realize that. Junior year is optional, there is a charge, but it is the qualifying exam. So every sophomore will take it next week, and many juniors, most juniors will take it, but it is optional the junior year. So that's something that's important that's coming up. And there are, lots of dates on there and questions that you might have. So, well, we stuck to our schedule pretty much. And what we'd like to do now is open this up to questions for either the students, the advisors, and for me. So, yes.
It's about the PSAT.
Yes.
This year, the sophomores do take they have to take it anyways, but if they score better this year than compared to their junior year, which score will be considered?
Okay. The question was, if a student takes it as a sophomore and a junior, the PSAT, and they're higher, do they take the highest score for qualifying? No. Only in SATs do they take the highest score. As a junior, you have to be a junior to qualify for National Merit Scholarship consideration. Only the junior scores count. It's been that way many years, actually, since I was in school, so many years ago. That's how College Board does that. And so now, for those people who don't know, the National Merit Scholarship consideration, they do award semifinalists who can go on and compete to be finalists and earn scholarships, and also commended students. This year we have 9 seniors as semifinalists. We have 21 commended. The 9 can earn scholarships through their application and move forward. The 21 commended are just advised, colleges are advised of their status. So it's an important qualifying exam as a junior. So sophomore year, it's important for those kids to take it and practice before their junior year. Other questions? Yes.
What are the logistics for the PSAT next week? What time are they taking it? What time is it out?
Okay, thank you. The question was, what are the logistics for the 16th when they take the PSATs? They come to school regular time. They'll be told what room to report to. They take the exam in the morning. Dismissal is at 11:30. When it's done, they leave. So sophomores and juniors are in school taking the exam. That's a day seniors can do college visitation, so they don't have to be here. So that's, and the afternoon then are the parent conferences. Yes? No. The time period, the question was, if student has extended time on PSATs, will they miss transportation? And the extended time should fit in before the buses because the exam is done earlier than that. Other questions? Yes.
I noticed the difference with some of the interim grades between that and what the average was showing for the classroom totals and home access. Do you know what the reason is for that?
Oh, we have a student who has an answer about interims, because if anybody knows about grades, it's these kids right here.
Interim dates are like a set date, so the I think we got them on Friday. The date, like deadline for teachers was Tuesday, so the Tuesday's date for grades could be different than what they got on Friday, hence why the difference in between like the grades that they get. So that's why there can be differences with that. That's really the only thing. It's just when the deadline is for teachers to get in their grades for interims. That's really the only reason they're different.
So does that mean you're paying more attention to what the classwork grade is? Because that's the only
Yeah, that's the one that's more current than the actual interim grades.
You can tell everyone that.
The classroom grades are the more current ones than the interim grades because they're ones that are constantly being updated.
Perfect answer, because we pull them at a certain time for interims and then teachers still update. Yes, and I'm sorry, I'll come back. Okay, the late bus question about the late bus schedule. It comes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and it's around 4 o'clock. I'm not sure this year if that's really firmed up yet because the bus schedules still are being tweaked, but it allows on Monday and Wednesday for students who serve detentions to get 2 detentions in before the late bus. So on Mondays and Wednesdays, there's double detention opportunities. Okay. The question was, how does a student know which bus to get on? And the bus drivers let them know because they have different buses, and they'll ask the student where they go, and they'll help them get on. Oh, okay, go ahead.
There's a map in the front of the building. You'll actually pass it on your way out. It's right next to the K-Pod reception office, and it has a map of the entire North Penn School District. And so you just look for your street, and it will tell you what bus you're on.
Thanks. Also, reminder to ride the bus, you need your ID. Okay, yes.
On the day of the PSAT, for kids who have extended time, will there be lunch? Will the cafeteria be open?
No, because students will, the question was, is the cafeteria open at all on next Wednesday, the 16th? No, it is not open because the buses come and take the students before lunch is served. Well, you know, there's no lunch that day. No, the question is, do they need to bring their ID for the PSAT? They don't check them in classrooms, do they? I don't think so, because they're here when they sign up. No, they don't need IDs. There was another question? Do you want to talk about who can drive to school? I'll let the kids talk about that.
Just in general or whatever? Okay. So sophomores can drive to school, but, you know, they don't have, no, not license. I don't know the word. They don't have privileges as much as like seniors and juniors. Like they're kind of put at the bottom of the list because, you know, they're sophomores. I got my parking pass. They start with seniors. Yeah, they start with seniors, then juniors and sophomores. I got my parking pass in the middle of junior year. They're $50 in the beginning of the year, but the price goes down as the year goes on. And if you like sign a waiver to not take the bus ever, that it just turns into $10. If you in the beginning of the year. Yeah, in the beginning of the year. Parking lot is hectic. It's not a fun time. I usually wait till people leave, but I'm always here. I like live here. Yeah. Yeah.
You want to add to parking? Okay.
If your sophomore gets, they can apply for a parking pass this current year, but if they want to apply for one next year, you can fill out the paperwork at the end of this current year, and they will get a spot for junior year. Yeah, so over the summer you can pick up your hang tags. And same thing, junior year, you can hand in your paperwork in as a senior. So you can wait till next year, or you can do it at the end of this year, and you'll get a parking spot.
Right. So seniors get priority and then juniors, but they can turn it in at the end of this sophomore year and for consideration, and then over the summer they'll assign parking for them for next year. If a student has their license and they have insurance and registration, as a sophomore, you can go to your home office if there's some kind of appointment that someone has or a reason. You can get a temporary pass for a day. You can ask the home office, and we do approve them if there's a reason for the need to drive to school. They're very limited, but they are available to all students, including sophomores, if they have all the qualifying paperwork. Yes.
With the temporary parking passes, I recommend that the student does it in advance because it says on the sheet you need to get your you need to hand in the form 2 days before the actual date appointed. Otherwise, if they do it the day before, like the day of, they will not get that pass. Like they need it the day before to actually drive into school because security actually goes around the parking lot and checks hang tags to make sure there's no like illegal cars in the parking lot and all that stuff. Just make sure they do it in advance, and they have to pay for the temporary parking pass as well, $1 per day.
Yes. Last year, I believe that juniors got parking passes. I think this year it's a little tighter. It depends on how the senior class goes because seniors get priority in the beginning. But right now, in my home office, I don't have students getting turned away yet.
How do they determine, though, if there are more juniors that apply than there are spaces available? How do they determine who gets
They start, that hasn't happened yet, but what they normally do is they get them over the summer and they start with seniors and then go to juniors. And then there's normally then leftovers for the start of school. So far, the students that are just getting their license, because you have to have a license to get a parking pass, it's not a permit. So students who have their license have been getting them. Yes. Oh, today, because it changes. It really does change. There were, in sophomore class, there was 1,024 last time I checked. So, right. So I think there was 3,000, about 3,100 in the school. But it really does fluctuate every day. We have students, because we're so big, we have students coming and going every day. So it's normally over 3,000. It's a big school. Yes.
All right, if we're gonna have a cutoff date, so if students are putting money into an account that they fundraise personally, they will get that back. Any personal money that they put into that account. Fundraising money is just gonna go into the general account. So whatever they fundraise will go into the general account. Any money that you personally put in, there's a deadline. So if something comes up, you can take that money back. It's generally been at the end of March. Last year we had it in April, and it turned out to be awesome. It was really nice. So we're going to try to plan for April. Our biggest thing is when can most students go? So we try to factor in winter sports and spring sports beginning and playoffs, activities. So our biggest thing is we have to sit down with Mr. Hines and look at the calendar. It's usually 4 days, 3 nights. We've been going the past 2 years. 2 years? 2? And we love it. I don't know if we have more fun than the kids or not, but we might a little bit. It's a blast. This year's early. It's March 8th to 11th. There was a case, I guess 2 years ago, where a student was still in basketball. They made the playoffs. They had a great run on the girls' team, and she was able to swap with another student who wanted to go because she missed the cutoff, but another student wanted to go, so they literally just gave them a check, and the other student was able to go in her place. So there are some instances, but there are cutoffs where if you put in money and something comes up, as long as you're before that deadline, you will get that money back. Sorry.
Because of sports, the beginning of March works very well because it's the end of winter season and the start of spring season, but games haven't started yet. So, well, sometimes it is. So, that's what they worked out this year with coaches and such. So they do, Mr. Hines looks at the big picture and making sure that it doesn't impact kids in a negative way, that they can go.
Oh, a bus ride would be terrible, so we fly down. That'd be way too long. The plane ride's enough. The last 2 years, we lucked out. It depends how many students you get, but last year we had one plane that was full of all North Penn students, which is exciting, and then half of another plane, which was, the kids are great. We always hear from the stewards and stewardesses and the flight attendants how awesome our students are. The flight is short. The kids usually are too amped up and taking 100 pictures and taking videos and stuff. The plane ride back, they're usually all passed out and asleep on the ride back. We leave early in the morning. We're here at like 4:30 in the morning. Yeah, so Mrs. Pfeiffer was on the earlier flight last year, so she'd be here at 3:45. It all depends. Some students took off from Allentown Airport. My group, we took off from Philadelphia. It all depends on the travel agent and how to make it the cheapest possible option.
Are they bused?
Yes. So the students are here. They bring their luggage the night before. It gets checked by security. The luggage is already on the buses, ready to go. They bring their carry-on with them. The chaperones look at their carry-on. There's never an issue, but just in case someone left a nail file or something that looks like a weapon in there, which has happened, then they get on the bus. We get there. They take off their luggage. They take it through security. They're responsible, obviously, for their own piece of luggage. Then when we get to the airport, it's all taken care of and taken back to the hotel. They go to the park, enjoy themselves, have a great day. They get back to the hotel, and their suitcases are actually in their hotel room waiting for them. And by that time, they're so tired, they usually just quickly unpack and pass out. We stay in the Disney resort, so we usually stay at All-Star Sports, which is nice because we have a turf field, and as a coach, I run workouts for my track athletes when they're down there, which they don't appreciate, but it's nice. I mean, everything's there, so they buy a card, you put money on it, so they get certain meals, they can get breakfast there. Everyone buys the mugs, so free sodas and hot chocolate refills, and they're going there all the time. There's a pool there, so it's nice that everything's enclosed. And we tell them it's the least non-school trip that they'll be on in school, where the chaperones really just make sure they're checked in their hotel room. They're so tired by then, they don't care. You have to wake them up when you knock on the door. And then in the morning, we knock on the door, tell them to grab some breakfast and get ready to go. Be on the bus in an hour. They're on the bus, we get to the park, we tell them, we'll see you at 5:30, enjoy. If you have any problems, call my cell phone. They have the chaperone's cell phone number, and we see them at 5:30, take them back to the hotel, and check them into their hotel room at night, and that's it. So it's an enjoyable trip. I went as a senior. Mrs. Pfeiffer went on her senior trip. We still go as adults and have a great time. And we try to tell them it's a great time. It's one of those things where you spend time with your friends, like one last time in Disney World. What could be better? I don't know. Yes.
As part of the banking, we'll be sending out account balances as I would say probably every 2 to 3 months, but more so during the senior year as we get closer to the final count for the account. Yep. In Disney World, you mean? No. Well, we go to Medieval Times. That's the only night that we actually come back from the parks early. Every other time we go, yeah, or end on the last day as well. So you also go to Universal and MGM, or now it's Hollywood Studios, and Medieval Times for dinner one night. Oh yeah, we go to, the day of Universal and Hollywood Studios, the students have the option of flipping from park to park, but they have to be back at Universal by the end of the day to get on the buses. So they have the freedom. They're parks right next to each other. They're connected. So that's the day they can go to both. Any other Disney questions? It really varies from year to year. Both times we've gone, there's been about 200 students. So it's about 20%. Our goal as class advisors and principal, we want at least 50%. That's our goal, to get that many students down there. It's a lot of work, but it gives the students the most opportunity to get together by the end of their senior year and have one last send-off before they leave for college or workforce.
Sure.
No, we love Disney.
Right. Well, I just want to say one thing about that is that participation's really important, and we are very enthusiastic, and it is important for kids. One of the seniors was saying, as they prepared for today, that their sophomore year, when they saw the kids come back from Disney, is when they decided they wanted to go and got motivated, and it helps to start fundraising early. So that's why we're talking about it, and I expect that we will have well more than 20% going to Disney, because we've already started to get higher involvement with this class than in previous classes. So, and as you look around tonight and see how many people came out, that's kind of a testament to your kids being involved as well. So, another question.
Question I wanted to ask about. I've been getting mail at my home with regards to foreign exchange students, class rings, not coming in on the district's letterhead and all that. Is that stuff legit, or am I getting...
That's a really good question. The question was, I'm getting a lot of other mailings that aren't from North Penn. So for instance, you received a mailing from Student Services about class rings. And yes, they are legitimate. They have to get clearance from us to send it. But they're doing that because they've taken on that responsibility and that cost to contact parents. And one of the things that we're hoping to do, as I said, this is the first of these information nights, And next year, we'd like to do it again for junior year and hopefully have a representative from Student Services here so that you see who the vendors are that will be contacting you and maybe even can make arrangements to purchase those things. So there are different companies that will go through us, and they normally say that they're officially representing North Penn. If you have any question about something and whether it's legitimate or not, feel free to contact either me, or the advisors, or your home office. That's a really good question for your home office. They'll be able to tell you what vendors that we use for certain things. So Student Services, you'll hear from quite a bit with things like class rings and you know, things for graduation and announcements and stuff. So thank you. Yes. For PSATs, no. We don't have snacks for PSATs. There's a break. You can bring your own snack, but we don't provide snack because that's not there. You can't provide that during the SATs. Yeah, during break, if someone wants to have a snack, that's fine. But do you know how long the break is? 5 minutes, 5 to 10? I think 5 to 10. I haven't administered PSATs in a while, so it's a quick break. It mimics the same type as the SATs, and there isn't a long break in SATs. However, during Keystone exams, we have more control of that schedule, and there is a break time and there's a snack with Keystone exams because they're a little bit longer. Yes. If you're interested in doing a fall, a spring, and a winter sport, are there still clubs that you can be involved in? And I would say yes, because most clubs meet outside of the practice schedules because they know that students are busy. So a lot of the clubs meet later at night where the practices are after school. So I think you really need to check with the individual club, but there are many students, including these 5, who are involved in multiple activities like that. I'd like to just jump in for a minute and thank our seniors. I listed their names here because they volunteered to do this tonight, and to honor their time, they have a lot of schoolwork to do. So I'm going to let them leave. It's 8 o'clock, but I wanted to thank them. So thank you very much. They did a great job. So, and probably in a few years, your students will be up there helping the sophomores negotiate how we do things at North Penn. Thank you.